Vein. That's a vein.
I said I found a lump.
Spermatocele.
She goes, you're fine. And I said, no, I did. She goes, no, you're fine. I said, no,
Do you know why you're fine? Because if it doesn't feel like a rock or a pebble, it's nothing.
Yeah. And she goes, how big is it? And I said, well, I can't find it now. And she goes, okay, you're fine. You're fine. She's like, go to. We were leaving for Hawaii.
Go to Hawaii.
Next day. She goes, go to Hawaii.
I like it.
گفتیم ما جلوی این یارو شلبازی در نیاریم برخورده دریا بر میده اگه من دیشب بد بگاه رفتم دستم برو میشد دستم میشد بشیم از کار اسپم میدادیم شده بود اصلا داشتم به گاه میرفتم قبل دانجن بشین پشو رفتم نرمش کردم اینا یکم سرحال شدم ولی کاهش بدم پین ببین
is
این یارو ایرانیه که پادکست داره چند تا قسمت داشت باید داریم از مثلا ممبرهای مافیایی نمیشناسیش یارو اسمش هم نمیم چیه ولیوتینمنت اسم چندش یارو یه بیزنس چیز مشی زده تو آمریکا خیلی وضعش توپ شده خیلی اوکی بعد یه پادکست هم درست کرده چند ساله یه سری قسمتاش خیلی خفنه الان یه نه جدید گذاشته دوباره نوشته جانگاتیز هیتمن با فکر کن یکی از با هیتمن جانگاتی مصاحبه داره پادکست درست کرده یا از زندان منان اومده بیرون فلان اینا هیتمن های مافیایی خیلی باید پاک باشه دوستان بشنویم میخوام پلیش کنم ببینم چیه
There's a lot of people out there that think they know the mob.
So you've killed all these guys. I mean, it's not a short list of people.
It's easy for me to hurt somebody or kill somebody. That's the easy part. Did somebody say, did you kill Johnny Gabbett? Who's got her up? Paul G, Nikki Pasquale, Penny Nicole. Yes, I did. I was loyal to the mob. They betrayed me. When you can't trust somebody, you don't say it. To shut these people up that don't know what they're talking about.
John, you're saying you were bigger than Gotti Sr. and Jr.?
He doesn't belong in this life. There is no honor. It's treachery. There is no love. It's only about money. It's only about an individual surviving. It happened the police just stumbled on us. They were coming in the direction of the shooting. And I start huffing on my feet and I leave the car so the cops can't go by. I get across Atlantic Avenue, I start jumping fences, some backyards, and I'm taking the gun apart and dropping it in sewers as I'm running.
Do you still miss any of it?
Anybody that says they don't miss the life is a liar.
So today I have John Alite with me as a guest. John Alite was part of the Gambino family as an associate. He was working directly with John Gotti Jr. They were good friends from early on, teenagers, and He's been known as one of the main hitmen of the Gambino family, if not the main hitman. And so today's conversation is going to be more the mafia series. So you know, one of the questions before we get into everything that we got, how did you even get into having a relationship with John Gotti Jr.? How did that connection take place with the two?
I grew up back in Woodhaven, Queens, Jamaica Avenue. I grew up around the mall. So
مافیا که تموم شده دیگه، مافیا ایتالیایی تموم شدن دیگه. یارو از زندان مثلا بعد 30 سال اومده بیرون الان. اینجوریه، یا مثلا عفو میخورن، مثلا چه میدونم همکاری کنن این چیزو. حالا نمیدونم این یارو داستان شاید خوب هرچی هست بولشت که نمیگه. بعدیم کارش این بود یا چی از هیتمنهای مافیای ایتالیایی بود زیر دست جان گاتی.
جان گاتی زنده است؟
نه.
Gotti Sr., Junior's father, took over the mob in our area as the boss. Fat Andy Ruggiano was the boss. We were close with the sons who played baseball with him. I used to box at the same gym. And he was the Captain Gambino family that ran our area. When he went to prison, Senior took over and stepped in his shoes, and that's who you start reporting to is.
So the introduction was made through what was a local community? Did you kind of meet him? Were you guys friends? At what age did you meet John Gotti Jr.?
Well, Junior and me we knew each other when Junior was about 16 years old. I was a year older than him at 17. We were introduced to mutual friends, said hello, goodbye. And he would come up to Jamaica Avenue once in a while, seeing a guy named Johnny Gebbett. Actually, he's one of the guys I ordered his murder the first week I went into prison. I told him to hit this guy when I go to prison. So that was his introduction to me and him. And later on, that ended up being, I guess, me and Junior had that love-hate relationship since we're children.
Oh, since him 16, you 17. So right off the bat, you guys had a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, there was on his end. He needed us guys from Jamaica Avenue because he wanted to become. He had aspirations to be like his father, so he wanted to be some tough guys. And Jamaica Avenue was where we grew up, were guys that didn't have money. We came from a poverty-stricken area. Where he grew up was a rich area. So in order for him to feel that he was getting his feet wet in the street, he had to come up to Jamaica Avenue and meet me and some of my friends. So his initial friend was Johnny Gebbett, who was a street guy. I mean,
so at that age, 17, was his father already the boss of the Gambino family? Has it happened yet, or Paul Castellano's event hasn't taken place?
No,
yet?
It hasn't taken place.
Hasn't taken place. No. Okay. So at this point of where you're at, the community, are you in high school at 17, or you've already been out of school?
No, I'm in high school still.
And who are you in high school? If I went to school with you, who's John A. Light?
I was a guy that was known to be in the gyms boxing all the time. Okay. Lost Battalion Hall was the gym. Big names at that time were at the gym was David Sears, and he fought Spinks. He got knocked out very quick, but he was a great fighter actually. Burt Young from Rocky owned him and managed him. Jerry Cooney. I did some shows with Jerry Cooney on his radio show. So Jerry Cooney was in the gym, same gym as me, and Fat Andy Ruggiano's kids. Albert Ruggiano, great athlete and a fighter. So we all were in those gyms. Billy Streamy ends up getting killed also, a good friend of mine.
Fat Andy's kids. So this is like the place. This is the place. This is the tough guy's place where you're growing up at.
Oh, no doubt. We nicknamed our area Death Haven because most of these guys that we're going to speak about are dead. They all got killed. So, you know, I'm one of the lone survivors, I guess, over the years. And there's close to 100 guys that grew up with us in that neighborhood that lost their lives.
Now let me ask you, you said close to 100 guys that grew up?
Yeah.
So growing up as a kid, at what age were you forced to be tough to survive in that area? Is it right like 5, 6, 7? How soon does it start?
My father was a fanatic about fighting and not getting bullied. So at an early age of 3 years old, we were actually working out, doing push-ups, and learning to jump rope.
3 years old.
3 years old. And we had a regimen of routines in baseball and boxing. Those were his two sports. So we were known, and my father was known in the area as King of the Kids. he would bring kids down and learn how to box with us. And so some of our childhood friends, like Timmy Donahue, he's passed away also, was also learning to fight with us. My father brought us in and didn't want us to grow up in a neighborhood that was tough without being able to be tough.
So right off the bat, you're learning how to box.
Right off the bat.
Now, your dad, who was your dad personality-wise? Was he a gangster? Was he connected to anybody? Was he just a respected guy? Was he a money guy? Was he a worker? Who was your pops?
My dad grew up in Rivington and Delancey Street, which is a known hub, especially back when he grew up in the, in the 40s and 50s, with gangsters like Vito Genovese were down there and guys like that, famous gangsters in those days. So if he was a hang-around guy, he wasn't a shooter, he was a gambler, but he stood with all gangsters, and he was very friendly with Lucky Luciano's cousin, Charlie Luciano. We used to call him Blackie. So I was introduced to him as a young kid. So my father was very familiar with the world of mob guys.
Was he trying to get you to stay away from the world? Like, what's the link? Was he kind of like, hey, you got to go out there and figure out a way to make money at all costs? What was the conversation like between you and your pop?
No, my dad was complete opposite. He was a gambler, a hustler, and didn't want me with the mob world. But at the same time, he was bringing me around these guys. So as he's telling me stay away, as I'm getting older, I'm getting attracted to the money, and I see my father struggling. And I see some of these guys, and they treat me well, and I'm getting attracted to that life, and I want that life.
You wanted that life?
I wanted that life. My father wanted me to be a pro fighter or a pro ball player, a baseball player. So he had a different outlook on things, and he didn't think, in my father's mind, I'm very close to my dad, is to teach me to survive, for me to understand the mob world, but to be like him. Don't go dive into that world. And I guess he thought that I would never dive in, I'd be like him. But it was the opposite. I went to the extreme the other way.
You went to the extreme the other way. Mom and dad both Albanian?
Both Albanian.
Both Albanian.
Both Albanian.
Okay, got it. And so he's trying to, encourage you not to get in, but at the same time you're around the environment, gambling, you're around. And at what age are you around these folks, by the way? Is it very early?
Very young, early.
Very early.
Very early.
And are they taking a liking to you? Like, look, we like, is there a name? Hey, little Johnny, were you like somebody that was liked?
Yeah, I was a skinny little kid, but I was muscular because I was always doing push-ups and pull-ups. And so they used to joke, Johnny, walk on your hands because I could stand on my hands. Johnny, show us to do pull-ups. Yeah. And I was like a good dog doing tricks, right? I liked the attention that they kept saying I was tough. They'd tell me to put their hands up, hit your, and then I'd hit their hands boxing a little bit. And they get a kick out of me, and I got a kick out of them getting a kick out of me. So
interesting.
I continued with it.
Form of entertainment, form of acceptance. So what was the first experience of making money illegally or legally for you? At what age?
Again, I was in an environment that it was constant trouble, and it was constant gang-related back in those days. Back in those days, there was a lot of racial tension because of the times. It was the 60s. So I worked in a deli, and I spoke about this. It's called Dick's Deli, and it was a legitimate job. And in between going to box and playing baseball, I became the captain of the baseball team in high school. I was working in this deli, but that deli introduced me to a couple of things. A lot of my friends that were involved with a gang called 7 and 9 that were very dangerous, and it became a huge gang throughout all New York, not just our area. And it introduced me to the corner shop, the car service. It happened to be my girlfriend's father, and he was a gangster with the Lucchese family. And around the corner was a bookmaker, which was his brother, Louis Gaddy, and George Gaddy. And he ran the local bookmaking area and horse room.
How old are you at this time when you're saying?
I get maybe 15 when I started getting involved running slips for them, innocently.
At 15?
I'm working in Dick's Deli, and they asked me, do me a favor and run it across the street. So innocently, I'm not looking to get involved to that extent. They're just guys telling me, hey, bookmakers and some tough guys and a couple of killers that later on at that age, I still don't realize they're killers. They were humble guys, and people have the idea the loudest man in the room is the toughest, and it's the complete opposite. The guys I've learned to look up to were guys like Charlie Luciano that were humble and quiet and gentlemen, and those are the guys when they could turn that switch on and kill. And I try to mimic those guys as I got older.
It's funny, Gianni Russo also said in New York he would run. He was a runner at 14, 15 years old for Frank Costello, is what he was doing that for when he was doing certain favors for. So at what point were you kind of like, well, you know, I'm running, I'm doing this, but I'm seeing the lifestyle. Maybe there's a bigger opportunity here. Where was that opening? Was there anything that was, you know, was it accidental? Was it intentional? How did it happen?
Well, I didn't have to really, after doing that, I didn't have to get any further introduction because I'm working and I'm making $75 a week in the deli, basically working full time for the, you know, whatever minimum wage was back then. And if George or Louis had a good week and their runners, Ito, he was also a professional boxer, Ito is a gangster, and Mousy, another guy. When they were having a good week, they tipped me 20, 50, 100. So at the end of the week, I'm getting 75 from the deli, and these guys maybe on a good week are giving me 300. And you're talking about when I'm a kid, when 300 is like 3,000.
What year is this?
This is 1975, 76, 77.
That's a lot of money right there.
A lot of money.
Yeah. For a 14, 15-year-old kid making $300 a week on top of the 75. So, okay, so now you meet Gotti. You're 17, he's 16. Where does the relationship go to, you know, come on in, let's do some more work together? How does that happen?
Well, I'm nickel diamond in the drug business. Albert Ruggiano is my, you know, what you would say umbrella, and he's a couple years older than me. And if I had any issues, I would bring it to Albert. At the time, his dad was still the boss. And when his dad leaves, I'm also dabbling in the bookmaking business. And Gebbet has a problem with Gotti on the street with some Jamaicans. They rob, I think about 200 or 300 pounds at that time. Gebbet was moving weed. And Gotti was his partner. They asked me to take a ride and be the shooter with Gebbet. Actually, I was the driver, Gebbet was the shooter. And that was the first time they asked me to do a favor, and it was really Gebbet that was asking me to favor because he lived around the corner from me, and he was friends with Gotti and friends with me. So he said, would you do me a favor and take the ride? I said, yeah. And we met Gotti to discuss how we were going to do it. And that was probably the first major step into becoming, later on, involved in setting up multiple killing, shootings, and beatings around the city.
What was the first time the request was made? Like, how did they know you were the guy to go to? Had you already killed people before, or it had never happened before?
No, you know, most of my friends, unlike what people think, because they know my history now, they think I was a wild kid with guns and knives and bats. It was actually the complete opposite. All my friends are in 7 and 9 gang. My first friend, Michael Stratton, ends up killing a kid at 16, going to prison. Another young guy, Tommy Turner, kills another guy that works at Dick's Deli with us. They try to jump him, he stabbed the guy up. He went to jail. So these guys that were growing up with me, the Bonner brothers, they're using guns. Everybody's using guns. My friend Mikey Merlo gets shot in the head with a shotgun, chasing a guy that had the gun. So he'll tell you the mentality of us. He's chasing a guy that actually has the shotgun with no gun, and he loses his life there. So I was kind of innocent compared to them. I wasn't running around with guns. I was fighting with my hands. As I'm getting acclimated with all my friends, or surrounding people that are surrounded around my life, I start slowly picking up knives, bats, and then I go into the guns. So after that shooting with Gebbet, I think that opened the door for people to say, oh, this kid will do anything.
Got it. So what was your first experience with knives and bats? Was it still in your teens, or?
Oh, yeah, it was in my teens.
Oh, it was in your teens?
Yeah. By the time I'm 17, I start using a bat like crazy, too.
At 17?
17. By the time I'm 19, I've stabbed a couple guys, batted a couple of guys. I got stabbed up and batted myself at 19. I almost lost my life that year. I was in and out of the hospitals for about a year. And now I really understood the life. And I started to understand, as I'm climbing up the ladder, I'm losing my cousin, Patsy Adriano Sr. gets killed, and Mikey Merlo gets killed, and Billy Estrema gets killed. And
what is this doing to you? When this is happening and you're seeing people that are friends, family getting killed, are you getting the retaliation blood in you, or no? You're just kind of seeing what's going on, you got to protect yourself?
No, I'm getting like you're doing as a journalist and as an interview person, and you develop and you become top in your field, right? You become somebody that's going to be the best, and you're going to do your homework, and you're going to study, and you're going to make sure that you don't make mistakes, and you're going to go as close as you can, as 100%, to be an expert in your business. So I decided I'm not going to be the next victim like all my friends. They're all getting killed out of stupidity, out of trust, trusting someone, you got to cut those odds down. And I said to myself, I'm going to be very aggressive, and I'm going to understand I'm not 14 or 15 or 16 anymore. When someone comes after me, they know I'm dangerous now, they're going to come to kill me. So,
who are you trusting at that time? Do you have people that you trust 100%?
Oh, yeah, I had a ton of guys. As I'm getting older and I'm moving in the drug business, bookmaking business, I have dozens of guys that work for me, and it goes into hundreds later on as I keep getting older, and I start my own crews and with the OK of the Gambino family. So I become a big earner on the street, and I become a guy that's well known with different crews, and I'm trusting my guys, and I'm also trusting the mob, almost blindly. Believing that there's loyalty and there's honor and there's no treachery. And I'm still naive, right? I'm a young kid that loves this life, believes in it. And as I start seeing some things as I'm getting older and understanding, there is no honor. It's treachery. There is no love. It's only about money. It's only about an individual surviving. And I'm watching as I'm going through the life and getting bigger and stronger in this life and being more successful, that I'm watching gangster made guy after made guy, cooperating, ratting, breaking the oath, our laws, our rules that I live by, although I'm Albanian.
But what was the first request that made by maybe, John Jr.'s father that came down? Did you have a meeting with John Sr.? Have you had multiple meetings with them?
Oh, at this point, I've met Gotti Sr., Angelo Ruggiero. I got to report to the club 24 hours a day, 7 days a week when I'm called. I have to be there early in the morning like a job.
How old are you at this time? 18 plus?
Yeah, about 19, more so 19. It's about the time I get stabbed up and everything. And I don't come a couple of times, and I think Gotti Sr. at this time thinks I'm just one of his son's friends, and I don't need to be there. And I get a knock on my door, and it's my grandmother upstairs. We live in the same house. And she says, Johnny, there's a big black car outside, and somebody's out there. So I go out there, and it's Gotti Sr.'s brothers. It's Pete Gotti and Richie Gotti. At the time, both guys aren't made guys. And they said to him, hey, where the fuck are you? And his brothers, he says, what are you talking about? He says, my brother's looking for you. And I look at him in front of me, and then I start realizing. And I to myself a split second, and I go back upstairs, and I come down, and I says, let's go. And they said, he wants to talk to you. That's when I realized that I'm just not some kid to him. I'm not his son's friend. We're not in a gang. This is not a school trip. And now I'm starting to really realize this guy's noticing me, and he's watching what I'm doing. And I'm still not understanding that these orders I'm getting, collect money, go baseball bat this guy, go pick up this, is actually coming from the father. I just think it's us doing our own business on our own. Jeannie Gotti's still alive, still around at the time. He's not locked up yet. And I just believe it's that. And then I start to, it opens my eyes. This guy he's very aware of what we're doing. He's very aware that we're moving drugs. Just says he is. Because I'm not schooled fully yet. I'm still a kid, not understanding the intricacies of the mafia. I'm not understanding. I'm not slick enough yet to understand how things are operating. You say something, but you might mean something else. You're doing something, and they're telling you they have no knowledge of it, but they're the ones that sent you. I start understanding all the double dealings and the treachery in the life.
Who's teaching you? Like, who is your lefty to Donnie Barasco, or your Sonny? Who's playing that role in your life that is kind of mentoring you? Say, like, here's what it is, here's what Omerta is, here's the code of this, here's this. Who's doing that with you?
Well, there's a guy, Ronnie Martino, who was a known killer back in Dick's Deli. And
Gambino family?
No, outside of the Gambino family. He had a brother-in-law that was involved with the Gambino family, but he was involved with the Lucchese family. And I had a lot of Lucchese.
He had a brother, Gambino, and he's Lucchese.
Not a brother, a brother-in-law.
A brother-in-law, got it.
And, it's not what everybody thinks. It's not, there's 5 families in New York. There's the outfit in Chicago. There's the Philadelphia mob. There's the Cavalcanti family in North Jersey. We all intermingle with each other. We do business with each other. We're friends with each other. But we also kill each other on orders. So it's not as simple and cut and dry that there's a lot of people out there that think they know the mob. And they think they understand it, and there's people that are so naive, and there's people that think they're experts in this world and this life. There's guys like Sammy Gravano, who's a friend of mine, and other guys that ex-skippers and bosses and underbosses that we're all in touch with, and we live that life. And even us, we have daily problems understanding the life and the treachery. And as we all got out of the life and moved on with our lives, we got killed. There's people that challenge us, and these days you can challenge anybody through a computer. Well, they talk and they just talk such nonsense. They have no clue the treachery that involves when you get to the level that we were playing at.
So what's the next place? So now they're coming, the brothers are coming, you're in the car, you're like, I gotta go. These guys, he knows what's going on. The orders are coming from the top. You go in. So now there's almost a level of accountability from his end, and the son is a friend, but it's not. You're not yet reporting to anybody, or are you?
Well, now I start reporting. It's about close to Paul Castellano getting killed. So it's the end of '84, about prior to Paul getting killed. I start reporting and having conversations more with Senior Gotti. Prior to that, I was involved with Jeannie Gotti, Johnny Cornelia, anybody that was around. Willie Boy Johnson was on a half sheet with him, and Gotti Sr. sent me to him. So I understood that Gotti was my partner, the father. And we had the New York Mets gambling with me. So when I moved to a different level. We used to hang out at a place called Channel 80, and it was a known spot for all gangsters. You'd pull up with a boat. We all had cigarette boats in those days. I had a 280 Baja with Gotti Jr., and we'd pull up to those places, and Roger Basile owned it. He was around Jimmy Burke from Goodfellas. His son Frankie was a good friend of mine. He gets killed also. And I start understanding that we're all living a pretty dangerous life now. Any moment, anybody can get killed. It didn't matter who it was, where it was, in your house, in a business. And it's not like these days where guys aren't shooting. When we were growing up, 70s, 80s, 90s, killing was rampant, shootings were rampant, and battings were rampant. So when I'm doing business and I'm talking to Willie Boy Johnson, I understand where it's coming from now. And Gotti had his conversations with me, Senior had his conversations with me, so I understand the orders are coming from him.
Did you know, were you involved in the Castellano before it happened with Sammy and the team? Was there anything that you know about, or that wasn't at your level yet?
No, it was at my level, but it was through his son. Junior loved to talk to me and brag to me. So privately, Junior told me, I knew I'm involved with Angelo Ruggiero, so I was close with them. I'm close with Johnny Koenig. At this time, I gave a beating to Patsy Catalano's kid, Jeff, who was in the heroin business. Jeannie Gotti and Johnny Koenig asked me to hurt him. I gave a beating to a guy, Frankie. These beatings are serious beatings, not with your hands. Bats, blackjacks. A guy, Frankie, that strayed away from Johnny Koenig, and they asked me to hurt him. Another guy, Mitch Sanders, they asked me to hurt him over some sort of rape with his girlfriend's sister. They accused him, they ask the Gambino family to do the work. Johnny comes to me. So I start understanding. I hurt Gene Foster on the beach, and I start hurting guys and batting guys and piping guys. And it's coming from, at that time, I didn't really understand it was coming from Gotti Sr. until he didn't like that I didn't jump on a situation fast enough, and he called me in his office. And he said, didn't my son tell you to do something? And then the next conversation I had was, if it's not done, you're gonna have a problem. So I took care of business.
Senior told you this?
Yeah. And then I went through that on a regular basis. No, these are beatings still.
Oh, you still haven't.
I'm doing shootings, but I haven't killed anybody besides the Gebbit, and he was the actual shooter. So I don't know how many guys died on that shooting, but we hit 3 guys. Maybe a girl actually was there. So you don't stand back there and count how many guys are going down. You know they're going down. They're screaming, and he's shooting like crazy.
So that's your first one.
Yeah, that's my first year. I was young. I was 19 years old.
What happened when that happened to you? Were you like, I cannot believe I just did this? What the hell just happened? Or were you?
I was mad because I talk about this. Gotti and a kid Jerry were following us in a K car, Junior, and they were supposed to be our blockers. And they took off and they made a left when the police were chasing us. It happened the police just stumbled on us. They were coming in the direction of the shooting. We weren't far from the precincts, from 102nd Precinct, so there's a lot of police cars there. I mean, for them to be coming down the block at that time, you got some bad luck. So after we do the shooting, I would think, I wasn't sure how I would react either, like you're saying. Naturally, you're not sure. Are you going to hold your mud, or are you going to panic, or are you going to? it became very natural to me. It was very easy. I pulled away. The cops were chasing us. Gebbit left the gun in my car and he jumped out while I was moving. I was going slow down a one-way street. Not slow, but I was coming up to the stop sign. And he jumped out. He said, let me out. As he jumped out, he left the gun and the cops started chasing me. And my follow car, my backup car, was supposed to be Gotti and his kid Jerry. And they had an excuse why they jumped out. So really, I'm the only guy holding the mud. And I was heading down towards Atlantic Avenue. It was a one. I know the streets there because we lived there. And I know it's a one-way. I open up the passenger door. I open up the other door. I take the gun, and I start huffing on my feet. And I leave the car so the cops can't go by. I get across Atlantic Avenue. I start jumping fences, some backyards, and I'm taking the gun apart and dropping it in sewers as I'm running. And I get myself back to our club on 113th Street, and I'm steaming. And I says, now I want Gebbit. This is the first time I'm saying, okay, I'm going to get Gebbit. So Gebbit came to the shooting high. He was smoking dust. And he's a wild guy. You know, no doubt, I know Gebbit since he's a kid. He's a shooter. He shot a lot of guys, but he's a guy that's smoking out of justice. So I look at him in a different light now. You're weak. You can't do work without doing that. You left me. And I'm looking at Gotti, and I'm thinking, that's all I'm thinking. And why I stick around is because I have a bigger plan for myself. Because everybody asks me that question, why do you stick around? I says, because Junior wasn't my direction. His father was the direction I was trying to go. And Angelo Ruggiero at the time is moving heroin with Jeannie Gotti, Johnny Koenig. They all get pinched, Mark Ryder. And I'm very friendly with them. And I'm moving in small levels, but I'm moving it through Rikers Island, through another guy that's Rikers Island, a guy Pete Chrissy, he's dead. He died also, but his brothers are still around there. His brothers work for me. Actually, one of his brothers, Tommy Chrissy, shot Gebbit up before we kill him, almost on a kill when we see him, which he lived. But I'm in a different circle, and I understand what I'm involved with now, with Angelo, with Johnny. And the shooting starts, the drug business starts. So I understand, and I know where I want to go. I got the New York Mets gambling with me. And actually, somebody questioned that. I don't remember who. And they came out with a check from Keith Hernandez of $5,000 to show they were paying.
They found the $5,000 check.
Yeah, they put it was in the papers. It was in the New York papers.
So that's documented.
It's documented.
Got it.
You know, a lot of this stuff I'm speaking about. There's a new book I'm coming out with. Right. Dark's out too, and I'm going to come back this time, you know, because I'm going to talk about shooting after shooting, stabbing after stabbing. But this time I told my author I want the witnesses and their names, besides the victims in that book. And I'm going to do a scorecard inside. So I'm going to show it step by step for people that don't understand the life.
So at that moment when that event happened with Gotti Jr., is your level of trusting him at a good score, and then after that it's a scar where you kind of keep it in the back of your mind saying, I can never trust this guy? Like, where are you with him? Because there are certain things where you see somebody do something in the back of your mind, like, okay, it's done, I can never trust this guy, but I have to act like I do. Is that kind of what happened between the two of you?
100%, because people ask you this, you know, during the trials. There's a lot of questions from lawyers and journalists, and, you know, and I said to him, listen, I tell everybody the same thing. You had other positions before this. As a kid, you're growing up, and there's bosses you don't respect, you don't trust, and you keep it there in the back of your head. It's just a lesson learned that you know that you can't trust him. You know that he doesn't belong in this life. As the years are moving on, and not even years, as the months and weeks are going on, I just named probably half a dozen of our friends that are already dead. By the time the next year comes around, I can name another 6, 7 guys that are dead. So peers, good friends, and some of these friends of mine are guys later on that I kill, or I have killed. You know, I had, like Johnny Gebbit, I have him killed. At one time, he was my friend as a kid. He lived around the corner from me. But you're starting to understand the life, and you're starting to understand the treachery, and you're understanding, just like at war, that this is, you're not playing a game no more. You're not in a schoolyard. You're not going to punch a guy in the face, and it's going to end. So you start really understanding when you can't trust somebody, you don't say it. You don't talk. Only the guys that talk end up dead. So, you know, I always use the armed forces. I got a lot of respect for these guys, and I've talked about it on a regular basis, armed forces, because these guys, every day, put on a uniform, whether they see action or no action, they have the possibility of losing their life. So when people sit in their comfortable homes and they don't salute our flag, or they don't get up and respect people in armed forces around the world, not just this country, I despise them. They're cowards, and I have strong feelings against them because these men, they lost their mothers, fathers, kids, children, and we have no right, and no matter what. And I lived a rough life on the street, and no matter what this country has done to me, as far as prisons, I'll never disrespect the flag or the people that fight for our country. So it's very important, and I think that the message that some of these people leave out in the street about something they don't understand is it's important to get the right message out there.
John, at that moment when you're seeing what happened with you and Gotti Jr., was there a moment where the next time you saw him where he couldn't look at you in your eyes? Was there anything like that where the tension was felt, or no, you acted like everything was okay? Like even a smile like you just made right now, that smile tells 50 stories, right? So you know what I'm saying when you see somebody and there's a smirk or a smile or a squint or an angle of looking at them, is there any of that felt between the two of you, or nothing at all?
Yeah, I asked him what happened. He gave me an answer. I knew it was bullshit, and I didn't question it anymore. I just put it in the bank and said, okay, I know what he's made of now. So I understood at that moment that he'll sell me out any second, any time. And later on he does. Yeah.
So then this leads me to the next question. Now you're saying in that moment you have bigger ambitions on what you want to do, right? You're saying I have bigger ambitions, but you're Albanian, right? You can't be a made man in a Gambino family and be Albanian. You got to be Italian, right? I mean, that's one of the things that they had themselves, especially to go be a boss. To be the boss, it's a complete different story. So as much as you're motivated and ambitious to do it, what was your formula on how to get to the top?
No, I understood technically I couldn't be officially made, technically. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, in every other aspect of that street world, I'm considered being made guy. I'm considered being almost a boss on the street. I'm considered by anybody in the mob, because you know what runs the world of the mafia is violence and money. So if you can, I had the qualities that other guys that I was intelligent, so I knew how to make money. I knew how to operate businesses, and I was vicious. So those qualities make me become another Jimmy Burke, who was Robert De Niro Goodfellas.
Of course, yeah.
His son was my good friend. So I looked at Jimmy Burke. I don't think there was anybody ever, when he was in jail on the streets, would ever say, oh, you're Irish, we're not respecting you as a gangster or as a mob guy. Or Joe Watts, who was a very personal friend and a known killer in our family, and John Gotti Sr.'s main guy, and he was German. So there's guys that I looked at and said, I'm going to be that. I did become them. The guys testified in trials in court that I had my own crew, and it was very unusual for an Albanian, non-Italian, to be able to run their own crews on the street. Nobody's challenged. But there's guys and there's groups outside of, you see some of these mob sites, and the guys, they don't even know what they're speaking about. There was, the Westies, an Irish group out at New York, Manhattan. I would laugh if somebody ever typed something to them back in the 80s that they're not respected because they're Irish. And even, we'll talk about these days, the last 4 hits in the American Italian Mafia were done by black guys. So, those same guys, and this is in the street. Whether you're the Hell's Angels, my friend he just passed away, grew up since we're kids, was president of Hell's Angels. I don't think there's anybody from the street that is really a legitimate tough guy that doesn't understand the street. We understand to respect somebody with intelligence and somebody that is on the street that's tough. So regardless, no one says to you, well, what's your nationality? I'm going to respect you for your nationality.
No doubt about it. But there's a difference. Like, Mira, Tony Mira, there were certain guys that were known for being earners. There were certain guys for being known for being soldiers, right? There were guys that knew how to go make the money, and some of them that knew how to take the hits. One of the things Sammy was known from, the reason why he got so much street credit is, and this comes from everybody I talk to. Whoever I talk to, for whatever reason, they all either respect Sammy and validate what he did, and even the whole story with him and Gotti, him going and testifying immunity, whatever you want to call it, for the 19 counts.
They say he ran a legitimate construction company, was making money, and at the same time, when it came down to doing the job, he did it as well. So, but because he was Italian, he could eventually end up being a boss. What was your, end of, my vision is one day John Elite's going to be XYZ. What was your vision?
I'll tell you something, because you mentioned Sammy. Sammy Gravano, and this is the first time I mentioned it anyway. Sammy Gravano did an interview since he's been home from his 15 years he just did. And his interview is about John Elite. He does an audio interview with a guy named Andy Deliano who did Perfect Gangster 1. That interview is going to be in Europe shortly. And he discusses what I am and what's a thug, what's a mafioso, what's a gangster. And he says most people, this is his words, either like a Michael Francis, who's a mafioso, earner, but not a killer. He doesn't put a gun in his hand. He's a very intelligent man. I like him. I respect him. He speaks well. He turned his life around. And then there's guys like Frank Clark, gangster, a killer. So there's two types. Mm-hmm. Sammy gave me, in that interview, what he said about me, that I'm an earner, I'm a thug, and I'm a mafioso, and I'm an Albanian mafioso that has totally from the mob world, and that I'm a professional hitman, and I'm a killer, and I'm the Gambino's family's hitman, and unfortunately, I was around the wrong guys, the Gottis. Those are his words, not mine. Those are recorded words from him.
How many total people have you done? How many hits did you do total? I hear different numbers.
Yeah, well,
I hear 15, dozens, 19.
Here's the thing. You go play baseball, and I've tried to say this is, so many different times when I'm talking. You go play baseball, and a guy plays one game, and he gets a base hit. He's going to remember that for the rest of his life. It's the only game he played. I did this day in and day out. So when someone said, did you kill Georgie Grasso? I'll give you names. Did he shoot him in the head? Yes, I did. Did somebody say, did you kill Johnny Gabbett? Yes, I did. I ordered him dead. Did you kill Bruce Goddard? Unfortunately, I'm friends with his family now. Yes, I did. I ordered him dead. Did you shoot Mike Lavigny in the chest? In protocols, he testified against you 25 years. Yes, I did. Did you shoot Ricky Stratton in the head on the Interborough Parkway? Johnny, did you shoot him? Yes, I did. Did you shoot Paul G. in front of John Gotti Sr.'s house and you didn't care it was in front of his house? Yes, I did. Did you shoot Nicky Pasquale 5 times on his porch and he loses his leg and he almost died? Yes, I did. Did you stab a guy in front of Vinnie Butch in Fort Lauderdale in the neck and the stomach and he was operated twice and almost died? Yes, I did. Did you shoot Sal Noto's brother-in-law in the Bulkhead Bar? Yes, I did. I shot his friend outside the Bulkhead Bar. Yes, I did. I could go on with these names. And did I shoot 2 guys in front of Mondello's for Michael Catapano, we call Catman, still alive? Yes, I did. Witnesses. Did I baseball bat 3 bikers and baseball bat Kenny Nicole on 78th Street in front of Old Brother Inn by accident? Yes, I did. He's alive. Joey Mathis is dead. I went to protect him. Did I pipe 3 guys and hit them with bottles in front of Princeton Diner in front of Lisa Matrisiak? Her best friend's married to Joe Pungatori, a captain in the Philadelphia mob. She was there, still alive. Yes, I did. Did I stab a biker in Forest Hills in the thigh and tell them I'll shoot them in the head? They ever come looking for me again after that baseball bat, the other 3 bikers? Yes, I did. Michael Finney testified against it, for it. About what I did. Did I shoot Red Pitt and 2 other guys in front of 116th and 101st Avenue? Yes, I did. See, the difference between what I do, and I can go on, we could keep talking. I don't know how many guys I shot. I killed 2 guys for sure on my property, maybe 3. Danny Morrow, unlike some of the stories that said that never happened, testified and he's on tape. It'll be out in Perfect Gangster 2. Dino Finelli helped me get rid of the guns after he'd seen tons of blood all over. These are regular guys. Dumped the guns for me. Testified also and did an interview on tape. Carmine Rome, multimillionaire, legitimate guy, owns Tomatoes Restaurant. Testified, I did. He was on the property. Steve Lacrotondo, insurance man, regular guy. Testified, I did. So, when guys are talking out of line or out of school, I hear it all the time. So why is Sammy Gravano, the underboss of the family, talking about me in that way? Why did Ronnie want captain of the Gambino family? I robbed all his bookmakers. He was a one-time friend of mine. I robbed Jojo Carrazzo, at one time consigliere of the family. I robbed his bookmakers. Why did anybody get any retaliation against me? I robbed 2 of them. I put my name in his mouth and I taped it. Steve Catalano was there. He's still alive. Johnny Burke's in jail, even though I don't like the kid. He was there. He didn't want to come near the guy because the guy was too big. So these guys are alive. I can go on. Why did Ronnie want him? In his own words, in his opening statement, say, if I ain't nice to Johnny Halite, he'll kill me like he killed everybody else. Why did he say it 12 times to get his paperwork in his opening statement? It's out all over the internet that I'm John Gotti Jr.'s partner. I'm a partner in the drug business. Over and over and over again, he repeated it. Why did Stevie Newell, a guy I shot, who I'm personally friends with now, and we had a disagreement, the Gotti said they would protect him, I shot him, did he say on tape, you don't know Johnny, he'll shoot anybody anywhere? And John Gotti Jr. ratted on him, ratted on me. Well, became a rat, and he called Stevie a rat. It wasn't true. Why did Stevie Newell say that he sees captains in the Gambino family answer to me? He grew up in our neighborhood. So when guys talk, and I hear these tough guys on the internet, and you got guys like Vito Guzzo, who's doing 30-something years. He's been my enemy for years. Did I have him shot? Yes. Did he kill the guy I had him shot? Yes, he did. Do I like him? No, not particularly. Do I know him since he's 5, 6 years old? Yes. Does he have the right to talk about me? He does, because he was a legitimate gangster, whether I like it or not. And he knows I'm a legitimate gangster. They tried to kill me 7, 8, 10 times. I don't know how many times. These guys are America's Most Wanted, Anthony Tabita, Frankie Fordello. These are serious guys, killers. But when you get guys like big mouths, there's a kid from my neighborhood, Frankie Giudice, who's a punk with a big mouth, never did anything, and they talk like they ever did anything. He never loaded a gun. He's another guy. Only guys that talk like that, you know they're about nothing. But when, at least if they're in the mix, and you know when his friend was getting hurt or we were collecting money off him, he ran. He hid in front of 106 precinct. These same guys that talk, when they talk about my children ain't gangsters. You got children too. When they talk out of school, you know they're not about anything. Because guys that run their mouth, they're nothing. The guys at Vito Guzzo, he was a legitimate killer. I didn't particularly like their crimes. I didn't like what a lot of those guys in that crew did. Some of them didn't like it either, what Vito was doing. But you can say to yourself, this guy is a gangster. He can't talk. There's a guy out of Brooklyn that's in the street still. I know him since we were kids. I won't say his whole name. His name's Danny. He was a killer, tough guy. So he has the legitimate right to talk about the street. But these guys that don't know what they're talking about, because I can run those lists on and on and on of guys I shot, baseball batted. I said I baseball batted over 100 guys and stabbed. Did I do it? Well, people say I didn't. There's a guy, Johnny, that testified for John Gotti Jr. I baseball batted him by myself. The 3 guys I just talked about, by myself. The Krzyzanowski brothers, I baseball batted 2 by myself. The Keegan brothers, I baseball batted 1 of them by myself. I could go on. That's why I said I'm going to say names this time to shut these people up that don't know what they're talking about or disrespect me, because my life's different now. The hard part for me is not to kill these guys that talk. The easy part for me was killing guys and hurting guys.
Why was it easy?
That's part of my life. It's like putting on a uniform and going to the army. It's a crazy way of thinking. When I signed up for this life, I believed in it. I don't believe in it anymore. There's 2 things that ruin this life that people don't understand. Structure, right, and fear. There is no more fear because they're asking people outside of the mob to do their killing for them, to do their shooting for them.
Wait, structure and fear is what made it work, or structure
made it
and
work.
fear it's what made it work?
Why it doesn't work now is because I can name, and I can see how I just named all the guys I shot and stabbed, and I could have kept going, right? You could see I could keep rambling these names. That same guy, the same way I did that, I can name family after family. Joe Messina, acting boss, of the Bonanno family, became a rat. John Gotti Jr. became a rat. Al Diarco, Lucchese family, a rat. Philadelphia mob, Ralph Natali, rat. Leonetti, rat. How are you going to have structure when all your bosses are rat? Not only the bosses, I can go down the line, the captains. I can go to Mikey Scars, became a cooperator. I won't call him a rat. Cooperator. He was John Gotti Jr.'s best friend. He made statements. I was there when we were setting up juries for Gotti Sr. Why is he making that statement if I'm a nobody? If I'm not this guy everybody says? Why is he saying that Johnny Halite, he was there when we were going to hit Curtis Lee when I denied it? I said, I'm not hitting a journalist. We got enough guys we can hit and kill. So why am I at weddings? Why am I at Gotti's wedding? Why am I at sisters? So when people talk out of line and they don't have a clue what they're talking, they have no idea the violence that we were living. And what I personally did for the Gambino family. In jails, out of jails.
John, let me ask you, I'm listening to the way you say it. You're saying it a way a baseball player would say, you know, game 3 playoffs round, you know, such and such, I hit the double and it scored a winning run. You know, game 1 opener against the Yankees, I hit a, you know, home run and we ended up winning. I won 3-4-4. The way you're saying it is just so nonchalant. Is that a part of it where, in your world, there is? It almost sounds like it's like I don't want to say bragging rights, but it's like, listen, I'm a real soldier. Here's what I did. Because you live in that, I feel the competitive spirit that you have. I feel the spirit of, look, I'm legit. Here's what I did. I was a driven guy. I was committed to the life, and I wanted to come through. And I'm not one of these guys that were afraid to be soldiers. I did this part as well. That's the way it comes across. Are these things where, for you during that part of the world, you look at it and you say, I chose to live this life, and I'm proud of the job I did? Is that kind of how you're processing it, or no?
My father, let me go back to my father. My father taught me to be best at whatever I did. So when I played baseball, you have to beat me for me to back away from a guy coming to home plate when I was a little kid and a catcher. There's no way I'm going to step away and side tag him. When I was in the ring, whether win or lose, they put me in a ring one time with a kid that was destroying me. And my trainer wasn't there, and it was, you know, just sparring. Mm-hmm. And I refused not to go in the ring. And he beat me all over the ring. And then when I got involved with the mob, I believe, here's the thing that why I'm so animate the way I talk and what I say, and is because I believed in the mob more than anybody. I went against my family. I went on the run because I didn't want to give up anybody in the mob. I left all my money, millions. I left my children. I stayed in a Brazilian penitentiary, and I was going to rot there. I was willing to face the death sentence. I lived in every country you could think of. Meanwhile, my enemies and my friends, like Gotti Jr., were living a lot. So what I'm trying to do, and it's so important for me to say, I am the real deal. I am the guy that did this. It's not bragging. And you know, maybe sometimes it comes off that way because I'm angry, because I go around now. I don't know if you know what I change. Because I go around and I teach kids don't follow. That's why I'm angry. Because I don't want kids to follow this life. I don't want kids to understand and think that these guys are tough guys. Because in my book that I'm going to do with Susan Pike, I'm going to come out with the next book. This is Darkest Hour 1. I'm coming out with Darkest Hour 2 and 3. And in Darkest Hour 2, that's coming out in February, I'm going to put a scorecard like we do in sports. When somebody gets, just what you said, how many hits or how many tackles. I'm going to go through how many of these guys never touched a gun in their life. Never did a killing, Pete Gotti, say. Never touched a gun. He didn't kill anybody. It's easy to ask this kid to do the killing from. It was easy to ask me to do the killing and the shooting, and then when it's finished and all the trouble starts, say he was nobody. Because they're going to do it to the next kid. That's why I'm so...
Who was saying you were nobody?
Whoever says it. I'm saying it doesn't matter who's saying it. What I'm trying to teach these kids is don't follow this life. I'm here to tell you, I lived this life. I was a guy that was in this life making a ton of money. This is a dead-end way to live. So it's very important to be very strong about the way I'm talking and what I've done. And it's very important to let these kids know, listen, do not follow this. This is a one-way street to nowhere. And
it's very tough to live that life today, though. You know, to have the mob life today, it's very tough to live the life today. It's not really. As it was in the 80s.
No, it's not as in the 80s because they're not killing. And they're not shooting and they're not baseball batting guys because, well, this is why I was talking about structure and fear.
Right.
But you have guys all over the street selling powder and pills, and they think they're gangsters. They put on a suit and tie, they put on a cigar,
right.
they put a cigar in their mouth, and they think they're gangsters. And they're teaching these kids they can still do this and you can have a future. But there is no future in this life. There is no future in selling drugs. There's no future in selling, killing or hurting. This is why I said it's very easy to kill and hurt. But the hard part is not to.
John, what's your falling out? What caused the falling? I've read many different things, and I've read both sides of the story, you know, and I called around just to kind of see what they're going to tell me. People that don't believe a single word that comes out of your mouth, people that say, this guy's legit. And I've called names that you know, some of the names you've mentioned, just to kind of give that, but they've asked me to not disclose the names for obvious reasons. It's like if I were to call you and say, hey, what do you think about this? This is who I'm sitting with. Here's what's the case with this guy. What caused the falling out with you, John, and Senior? What caused the falling out while you're coming up?
Well, it's very simple. I mean, anybody with an education can decipher what I'm saying and check, right? Because I'm making statements with names. I'm making statements of made guys. Okay. Here's the falling out. Frankie DeChico was killed. Did you see anybody get killed after Frankie got blown up? No. Eddie Leno was killed by the Lucchese family, by the road cops at Bolito. See anybody retaliate that? No. Bobby Borriello was killed in front of his house. See anybody retaliate that? No. Joey Scopo, that was put in position to be an acting boss of the Colombo family by Gotti when he was murdered in front of his house. Any retaliation? No. My good friend, Greg Ryder, was chopped up and left somewhere. Nobody ever found his body. While his father did life, didn't give up, Gotti Sr. could have never spent one day, Mark Ryder, in prison, and nobody did anything about it. And in my belief, they ordered it. They okayed it. They didn't order the murder of Greg Ryder, but they okayed it. And I could go on with that list. Little Anthony Medusa was killed over a dispute in Bedrocks with the owner. Did anybody kill the guy that killed him? Regardless if the guy was wrong or right. Our laws, you can't put your hand on a made guy. He killed him. God, he didn't do anything about it. Nobody did anything about it. Why not? So we believe in nothing. We believe in money. And these kids think that there's loyalty. I just named every boss that's ratting. I just named Sammy Gravano. Let's put somebody in his shoes. He was quiet. He never got caught on tapes. He didn't brag. He didn't talk about murders that we committed in the past, that it's our law. If you do bring it up, you're killed for it. He didn't go against his boss. He was a big money maker. He was a family man. He didn't run around like a lot of us did with women. He was a perfect gangster. That guy was a perfect gangster, and he was quiet. Now he's known to be a rat, right? That's what the journalists around the world projected him as. That's what the gangsters did. But who's really the rat? This guy did everything from Gotti gave him up every which way. And he didn't get a chance to kill Gotti. Maybe if he got a chance to, he would have never spoke. But instead he was in handcuffs, going to do 10 life sentences because of Gotti's big mouth, because he betrayed Sammy Gravano. Sammy didn't betray anybody.
Wait, did you just say if Sammy had the chance to kill Gotti, he would have?
Of course.
He would have?
100%.
Do you think Sammy was a threat to Gotti because the street saw Sammy more as the power guy than Gotti, because Sammy was getting all the context and the relay, like he could eventually be a boss, or not at all?
No, because Sammy didn't have an ego. He had no aspirations to take over. He didn't care that John wanted to be a
Sammy didn't want to be a boss?
No, Sammy had no...
Was that known?
Yeah, it was known, because Sammy didn't have the ego. Sammy stood back. Sammy only cared about making money, staying with his family.
How much time did you spend with Sammy?
Over the years, he was always around, like I was around. You watch.
But were you buddies? Were you friends?
No, I wasn't buddies with him at all. I was loyal to the Gottis. So for me to say this, I was a Gotti loyalist. I wasn't a Sammy Gravano loyalist. But if you're going to speak about the mob and honesty in history, history needs to be correct, right? It can't be somebody that's in love with the romance of the Gotti story.
I mean, you said something about the Gottis, which is quite interesting. You said, anything that preserves Gotti Jr.'s image is glorifying the mob. If you're glorifying the mob, you're killing kids, you're teaching kids to respect the coward. You're calling John Gotti Jr. and Sr. a coward. Is that what you're saying? Like they were cowards?
Listen, I'm calling all of them cowards, the Gottis. I'm calling Jeannie Gotti a coward. He was in jail with me. He was my cellmate. I slapped him around in jail. I didn't slap him around and just talk. Yeah. Teddy Persico was there, Carmine Persico's brother. Mikey Spinelli, a known killer, was there. Patty Della Luz, all made guys. They were all there. Let somebody ask him, did I do it? Did I have Louis Andino from GQ, we used to call him, rob Jeannie Gotti? Did I have James Perry slap him, throw a chair at him? Did I have Mark Giuliani do it? Did we beat up and hurt Ali Calabrese in jail? You see him in The Irishman, they talk about he's a gangster's gangster. Nobody did nothing about it. Why not? These guys were all there with me. Everybody knows the story. So when people say, when they talk, when they don't have knowledge of what they're speaking about, but I'm speaking from facts. And I ask people, look it up. Pete Gotti never used a gun. Never. John Gotti Sr. never killed anybody with his own hand.
John Gotti Sr. never killed
anybody.
Never
with his own hand. It's easy to ask somebody else to do it. Here, I'll give you a gun until you kill him.
Zero. He's never
Zero.
Killed. How would you know that, though?
I know everything about him. He's dead. Where's everybody that
That's the part somebody may say he doesn't have. You're going after a guy that's dead. He can't defend himself.
Well, his son can. right? He's dead. Let him come out. There's FBI alive. There's so many rats out there. Joe Messina's a rat, knows him his whole life, right? Why isn't he talking about it? Al Diaco, why is he talking about it? There's a million guys out there that hung around. All the guys that cooperated around the Gambino family, nobody put a gun in Gotti's hand ever. I was friendly with Willie Boy Johnson before he cooperated, while he was cooperating. We all were. And when he spouted off, or Angelo Ruggiero spouted off, they all said the same thing. But I'm talking about facts because you have FBI information. You have guys that ratted. You have guys that stayed with him. You have Carmen Agnello, never used a gun. His brother-in-law, he ran to Cleveland, he had a 16-count indictment. They closed the courtroom. What did he do to get out of it? He got guns in his house. I mean, these are facts. These aren't, so when kids are looking up at these guys, I'm telling them, don't you open your eyes, because I never opened my eyes until now. And now that I have a voice, I could save kids' lives.
But why is the story being told otherwise? Why is the story being told? Because isn't one of the criteria of being a made man you have to kill somebody? Isn't that one of the criteria, or it's not?
No, not
so
at all.
You can be a made man and a boss and you've never killed anybody.
Correct.
Okay, the second thing, isn't one of the codes of being a mobster, you can never talk to a government official, FBI, you can never do that.
100%.
Never
so
do that.
Gotti Jr. sitting with the FBI making 302s while I'm sitting in Brazil Penitentiary, and he could give me 20 life sentences. So tell me who betrayed who? I'm in the jail. I'm in the dungeon. I'm getting beat
now, he's
up.
saying he didn't say anything and nobody got arrested afterwards. That's what he says, that nothing happened. That's what I'm repeating what he said. You know it yourself.
Okay. You find me one gangster, because he can tell that to the public because they
Right.
don't know any better. We know our laws. He sat with them. He gave information against us. He was an informant just like Willie Boy Johnson. And we all cop pleas. Joe Watts had a cop to a murder. Danny Marino had a cop to a murder because of John's testimony. And he refused to get on the stand against him. He only wanted to feed information. That's the truth of it. He was locked up for Silver Fox. He stabbed a kid from behind his children. It's an open murder. He can never get locked up for it. Why not? Kevin Bonner testified against all of us. Great witness. His girlfriend, great witness. They were all there. There was how many testimonies that they said they seen him stab it, and he admitted, and to me too, he admitted he did it. He stabbed him and he killed him. So why isn't he getting arrested for that murder? Ask law enforcement. Get an explanation. But I have his 302s. We put it in the book. Documents of what he was saying. People he was giving up. Politicians he was giving up. Other guys he was giving up. He gave up his friends. He put other friends at a murder investigation that's still open, that is never closed. And he put them all at that location. So for him to say to the media, first off, he did say he did rat, actually, on video. He said he ratted. Then he said he only ratted a little. Then he said he only ratted against his enemies. And then he went back and said, I was just trying to trick the FBI. It's not even a conversation to have. He ratted. It's stupid. He sat with the government. He made a deal. He backed up on the deal 5 different times. But that's really not, the issue is not what he just did at that time of ratting. The issue is one after another, these guys aren't using guns. One after another, these guys, bosses, and not just the Gottis, bosses around each family are ratting. And they're trying to take guys like me to do the killing, to do the shooting, to do the beating, and say he's nobody, and then use those kids to get life sentences for him. And these guys walk away and they make deals on the side like Gotti did.
John,
like
how many years did you do? How much time did you do?
I went away, somebody put in it 6 years for this, 3 years for this. It's not true. I went away for 3.5 years for a gun. I went away in Brazil for 2.5 years. I came home, I did 10 years here for this case. I went in and out of jail for assault in 90, 91. I went back in 2001. I went out again in 2002, back in jail. So when these guys talk,
how much total time?
Total time, about 18 years in and out.
How come it's 18 years if you've killed so many people? Why are you not doing life?
Because I'm the first guy to say, when Gotti ratted, he came back to the United States.
This one Brazil extradited
me back. And I got the paperwork of Gotti ratting. When I was in Brazil, they flew to me.
They showed it to you?
They showed it. The consul of the family, Joseph Carrazzo, his son, Joe Carrazzo, was a lawyer defending Ronnie Trucchio at the trial in Tampa. I was absentee. Ronnie won on his opening statement, was giving Junior up because Junior was ratting. He gave me up on the drug end because I gave him permission to give me up. But I didn't give him permission to give me up on murders. And he started giving me up on murders. But That information, the whole family knows he's a rat. He's been shelved, he's been chased. Did people want to kill him? Of course they wanted to kill him. Will they kill him? They don't know what information he gave.
Will they kill who? Junior?
Junior. Because people ask,
today?
why is he alive?
Today?
Today, always. He's always going to have something.
Who's going to kill him today?
Well, listen, it's like
Persico died, Callie died. I mean, it's calmed
well,
down.
Well, Callie's not a killer, but and unfortunately he died because I really thought he was a decent guy.
That's what a lot of people tell me. They say he's a really decent guy.
Yeah, I think the whole
they
Gambino
thought he was
faction.
Trying to turn it around. And
well, I speak openly, honestly. The Gambino faction are gentlemen. They're quiet. They don't bother nobody. What they do for a living, I can't judge them. All I'm judging is when guys are telling guys put a pistol in your hair and tell a kid to kill, I'm telling the kids don't go into the life. I'm not telling an adult don't stay in that life. I'm not.
How are you alive? So you've killed all these guys. And it's not a short list of people. If you've hit a baseball bat 100 people, you know, if you do something to my family and I'm in that world, I don't know how long, you know, so how come nobody has retaliated to you? If you have this many numbers of hits, how come you're still around? You're a public figure. You're living in New York. It's not like you're living in Montana.
Listen, because I'm not P. Gotti. People know I'm vicious. And if you come after me and you don't kill me, they know that I'm going to probably do something.
Well, I understand, but that's a pretty quick fix, though, right? If somebody says, so just make sure he doesn't live. So why are you alive?
Well, who's going to kill me? P. Gotti? No, I mean, if he was out, he's in jail. No. Who, Jackie knows? He never used the gun either. Who, Mikey Scars? No, he never used the gun. Carmen Agnelli, he never used the gun.
Right.
You got to go find somebody who used a gun
I'm not
first.
asking this to try to create an event. I'm asking this question to...
But if I was worried about that, honestly, I wouldn't live in New York.
You wouldn't live in New York.
No,
I think I give you a lot of credit for that because, and not that others who go and live in another place, it's, you know, it's to each his own, but you decide to stay in a place like that. You know, one of the things I was thinking about when I was looking at this, I got a couple other questions we'll go through here, but one of the things I was thinking about when I was looking at this is sometimes the person to be the most careful with, and I want to preface it in a way, and you can come back and answer it in any way you want. I just want to hear your thoughts on this. Sometimes, say there's a kid who, you know, he's got a brother, and the brother's born in America, and he's not born in America, but this kid's more driven to be a president, and this family, the father is pressuring them to be a president one day, and this brother knows no matter what he does, he can't ever become a president, even though he wants to become a president more than he wants to become a president, but he can because he was born here. This guy wasn't. Okay. It's a law. You can't do nothing about it, right? Okay. And sometimes this guy on this side, who maybe have more qualities to be a president that his father wants him to be. They want to make father proud, right? Hey, I want to be the guy that comes through and leaves a legacy for your last name, Pops. You came here from another country, I'm going to do my part, Germany, whatever you want to talk about it. In the book 40 Laws of Power, I don't know if you've read the book 40 Laws of Power, Robert Greene. Law number 1, never outshine the master, right? Do you think there was a little bit of that spirit felt about you or no? That wasn't at all. Because did they kind of get a feeling of tension to say, this guy's a little too ambitious? You know, and was that kind of your frustration to say, you know, if I can't go out there and, you know, get all the way to the top, screw it. I'm going to go out there and throw everybody under the bus. How much of it was that? And again, if you completely disagree, I'd love to hear your views on this.
Here's the thing.
You know what I'm saying with this part, right?
You got to understand, in any aspect of life, envious people and jealous people are dangerous people, right? So when they see that I was successful, they see I was making money, they see I was dangerous, they see that I had a big crew of people.
More than Gotti's?
Gotti's didn't have it. John Gotti Jr., if you can find me a killer that was around him, besides Bobby Borriello, because Bobby was killed, but Bobby wasn't a kid that could go on the street in baseball.
John, you're saying you were bigger than Gotti Sr. and Jr.?
No, I'm not saying that. Senior had a ton of guys. Junior didn't have guys. Junior had not a shooter around him.
But are you making more money than Senior?
No.
Okay,
no,
so the question I'm asking is, was there a level of envy from you towards them?
No, listen. Senior, the respect level is this. As you're getting older, you're intelligent. Unless you're a dummy and you just follow blindly.
Sure, yeah.
But you start seeing. I was betrayed by them. So yeah, I was loyal to the mob. They betrayed me. There's no way you can turn around the fact that John Gotti Jr. met with the government in 2003 or 4. And then he signed papers a year later, 2005. He can't change that. That's a fact. That's when he was in, and that's when I was in the penitentiaries in Brazil. You can't correlate. He can't. He can try till he's dead. You can't correlate whatever I did for what you did. You did this 5 years earlier. So I don't know how he's even trying to correlate whatever he did, his actions. The rest of the mob knows he's a rat. Okay, now did I come in after that? Yes. Did Ronnie want him cooperate? No. But did he give a statement, said he was afraid I'd kill him like everybody else? Of course he did. What kind of statement is that? So that's okay? Or the guy that comes in, and he's not the only guy. Mikey Scars cooperated, captain. And I just said, I went through a list. I can go through them more. So why am I loyal to a life of Italians when I'm Albanian, and they're not loyal to their own life? So this is, and they're giving me up at the same time. And all my guys are giving me up, and other guys, who am I being loyal to? Because they're not being loyal to themselves. So what do I owe them? They owe me nothing when I left my family. They owed me nothing when I stood in those penitentiaries, and I wouldn't rat on my enemies. I wouldn't rat on anybody. I left everything to be true to that life that I believed in. But one after another, made guy after a made guy, are giving me up and giving information against other made guys. And bosses, I'm not just talking about just underlings or made guys. I'm talking about who's going to deny the fact that these guys are ratting like crazy.
Was it public when you retired in 99 or no? Like, did you tell them I'm retired? Because you said you retired in 99.
99.
In 99 you retired?
In 99 I got out of jail, 2000.
Right.
In 2000, I don't know if I said I'd retired or didn't retire. I was still in the mob.
You were still in the mob?
Yeah.
So in 2001, was there a recording you heard with you and your uncle where they said, you know, he's not a made man, he's a skipper, something like that? Is there something with that recording you heard with your uncle or no?
There was a recording, you're talking about Stevie Newell's incident.
Yes.
And there was a meeting with John Gotti Jr., Stevie Newell, John Gotti Jr., stayed across the street, was sending messages back and forth to Carmen Agnello. Pete Gotti was involved. And talking about hitting me. I shot Stevie Newell, the guy they're supposed to be protecting, and they asked Stevie Newell, can you kill Johnny A-Light? It's a joke. You're asking the guy I just shot that you're supposed to be protecting to kill me? Why didn't you kill me? You just said you're going to protect this guy, and I told you go fuck yourself, and I shot him.
How did you hear about that? They wanted to put a hit
I didn't hear about that. I said that to him because the FBI came to my house and said there was a death threat on you and we have to report it. So instead, they said, are you going to tell them? And this was in about 94. But they said, are you going to tell the guys? I said, yeah, I am. And I went and I switched the story to them. And I said, I heard a recording. You guys were going to kill me. So at that same story, I says, well, I just robbed Joe Kane that you're supposed to be protecting, and I stabbed him a second time. He just did nothing. I took Richie Gotti, Sr.'s brother's son-in-law. I beat him to death on the street. He lived because the guy, the skipper from Bonanno family, saved his life. The same guy that's bringing him to me, set him up for me, brought him to the hospital, Ronnie Giolenzo. They did nothing. I shot my cousin. Gotti said don't pay the cop a payoff fee. He did nothing. I robbed two bookmakers around them. They did nothing. I beat his uncle up in jail. They did nothing. I beat up Ali Calabrese in prison with other guys, and they did nothing. They don't do nothing, but then they went and ratted on me. So you had your chance to kill me over and over again. How many things can I do to you? I says, but when they changed that story, so when Charles came to me, and we can go on story after story, and if he's so loyal to Gotti, right, why is he robbing Papa Vera funeral home with me? Charles Kinnick. Why are you robbing it with me? In 2000 and whatever year we did it, 1, 2, 3, something like that. We robbed the funeral home of John Gotti's main guy. He was buried there. He had his funeral there. I didn't give a shit. He was alive. Actually, we robbed it in 94, excuse me. Gotti just went to jail. So if I'm this guy that don't care about anything, and why is a made guy running around with me robbing things? If he doesn't answer to me, if he doesn't respect me, if they don't think I'm nothing, why are you robbing? Why you have no respect for the Gotti's doing that with me? Why are you helping me, giving me guns to shoot my cousin that's around Ross from the Genovese family, and he's running a bread union with him? Why are you coming and giving me a machine gun and a 9mm to kill John Gotti Jr., Pete Gotti, and Carmen Agnello? And if that's not true, get the guys that testified against me. One of them is my cousin and knows about it. And well, Cubanelli, I put the guns in his safe. He's a tattoo guy in the neighborhood. He's still around. If it ain't true, well, Andrew DiDonato that wrote a book about it said Nicky Carrazzo told him, yeah. But he didn't mention that. He didn't know it was me that was going to do it. And I wouldn't give the guns back. So why are they so afraid of me if I'm this junkie nobody? Right? So this is the point is I ran through these guys and they never did anything. And my message is still the same. That's the past. I'm a different guy now. If I wasn't, I would be retaliating against guys when they talk so much, the way I used to. Now, I send a message. My life has changed. I'm the same guy. I mean, don't get me wrong. If somebody tries to hurt me, I'm going to protect myself. But my message is to kids. Day and night is going to be the kids to stay away from this life.
When did you cooperate? Was it 05 when you cooperated?
No, I cooperated when I came back about 07.
07 is when you cooperated.
It was 07, yeah. It was 07 towards 08.
Articles say 2005.
No,
was it 07?
I'm in Brazil penitentiary.
Okay.
Gotti
so 07.
cooperated 2004 and 5.
2004 and 5,
I come back like 3 or 4 years later, and I sign officially about 5 years later.
What's the story with when you went to court to testify? This one of the jury members, Paul Paragon, however you want to pronounce. I want to hear your views from this. Almost the entire jury didn't believe the star witness yourself. He wasn't credible at all. What is this all about? It's written about in different places.
Well, first of all, this guy, we use terminology as a mob hump. So he's a mob hump. Yeah, well, why would you go out to dinner with Gotti after the trial? Why'd you go socialize with him for? That's first off. Second, I can't control what other witnesses say on the stand. If somebody says something different, they don't even hang around us. Like Peter Sicara, he's a big mouth. He worked with me. He stayed with me. He was going to set up the murder of Pete Gotti, Junior Gotti, and Carmine Agnello. But his brother is dead. His brother's a tough guy. These guys used to come visit me in prison or whatever. So when he says something on the stand, I can't control what he says. He never came to our clubs. Actually, Johnny King sent me to hurt him too when he first came home. And what's his name? Pravett was there. Dave Pravett owns a junkyard by Shea Stadium, the old Shea Stadium. He was there when I went for him. So when these guys are talking, I can't change. But here's one of the reasons why this jury didn't believe me. Because there's guys, witness after witness, saying I'm too dangerous. On all the trials, get the paperwork, that this guy can't control me. Partially, they are right. He can't control me and everything, but I do work for the Gambino family. So their view is I'm lying because no one's controlling me. Because Joe Kane got on the stand saying one thing. Johnny, another kid, gets on the stand saying Gotti never did anything, A-Light's crazy, he baseball batted me. Stevie Newell's getting on the stand saying Johnny A-Light shot me. Ronnie One-Arm saying I'm scared Johnny A-Light's going to kill me. I'm a captain of the Gambino family. So what is the jury going to say? They say this guy's a maniac, out of control. Since I came home, the Gotti family, this is a fact, the Gotti family wrote my parole, the whole family, wrote I don't know how many letters to my parole, wrote to my parole's boss, wrote to my judge, 2013, 14.
Yeah.
Gotti had his right to write them and say I'm a killer and I'm going to kill somebody in the Gotti family. They need to lock me up.
You're going to kill somebody in the Gotti family?
And I'm going to kill the brother or somebody in their family. They need to lock me up. I violated my parole. Every gangster around the streets, active or not active, still in touch with me. I'm in the drug business. I'm still in the construction business. And I'm a nobody, but everybody from every crew is getting in touch with me. So what are these letters? And Gotti himself and his lawyers wrote a letter into the judge saying that he feared for his life. And his sister wrote a letter in 1992, he doesn't have the stomach for the mob world. So, but my thing with the Gottis is it's not about the Gottis, it's about the Gambino family. The thing about correlating John Gotti Jr. becoming a rat in 2004, 2005, has completely nothing to do with me while I'm in a penitentiary in Brazil. I'm just curious how they can correlate him ratting and me coming in after the fact, 3, 4, 5 years later. The correlation doesn't even make a little sense.
Who's behind the website? Who's behind the website?
John Gotti Jr.
How certain are you of that?
100%. The guy Chris Casparosa said he works for John Gotti Jr.
The guy who runs the website
says he works for John Gotti Jr.
This is very similar to what the Scientology Church does.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
Go on my Google and read my Wikipedia. He controls it. He locked it. He changed the writing of what was on Wikipedia.
Who did?
John Gotti Jr., Chris Casparosa.
You
can't even rewrite on it if you want.
When's the last time you were in contact with John Gotti Jr.?
I was in Long Island at a diner when I first came home.
13.
13. I had a meeting there with a couple of guys, and 6 police cars came. And they informed me that Gotti called up and said that he feared that I was going to kill him, that he lived around the corner somewhere. I don't know if that's true or not.
Did you see him or no?
No, I didn't see him. And then the letters started coming into my parole that I left my area. And I've been in different areas in New York, and I'm not allowed to leave New Jersey, Philadelphia area. So the thing that is mind-boggling to me is the way he won't let this go. I even gave up social media years ago because I'm not going to play these kid games with him forever, you know. So, but the answer is still back to the same thing. How are you correlating if you became a rat, anything to do with me?
Would you like to face off with him? Not fight, face off and have a conversation with him. Would you want to sit down?
I'll sit here tomorrow with you, get him on the air, we're going to talk to him about, we'll start with his father so we don't have to talk about him. We'll talk about his father. I want to know when did he ever use a gun? I want to know when a gun was in his hand, besides that fantasy story he told in his book, that his father left Greenhaven or one of the prisons, and there's 2 marshals with him. They went to a dentist's office. He went out the back door. So he had about 30 people that were witnesses that he was brought to a dentist, he went out the door and he did a murder. That's the best he could come to, a murder for his father. It's, the kid's got to know. The kid's got to, was his father, now let me straighten something out. Was his father a gangster? 100%. Was he from the street? 100%. Did he have a lot of guys killed? 100%. Was he a big earner? No. Was he a degenerate gambler? Yes. Was he a tough guy? Yeah, he was a street guy. Was he a killer with his own hand? No. Did he have killers around him? Yes. He had a ton of killers around him. Bobby Borriello was one of them. Johnny Cornelia was one of them. Eddie Leno was one of them. Joe Watts was a big one.
Sammy?
Sammy, without a doubt. These are guys
Who was
that
the
are
most
loyal.
feared out of all of those guys?
Sammy and Joe Watts, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Johnny was tough for him too, but without a doubt.
At the peak when you were on Sammy, what was the different energy you felt from Sammy than you felt about the Senior?
Senior, even as a kid, Senior wanted to intimidate you, right? So I grew up in the street. He wanted fear, you know, and as a kid I was intimidated. I would be a liar to say I was.
Sure.
You know, I was intimidated. I was impressed by him. But then as you're growing and you understand the world is like going to kindergarten, you work your way up to college. When I looked at Sammy, you see complete confidence. He walked with confidence. He didn't try to stare you down. He said hello. He didn't try to intimidate you. Hey, kid. And even to today, if you ask him when he met me, he doesn't know. And of course he doesn't know because I was a kid. He met me at the clubs, he said hello. But he doesn't specifically remember the conversation because I'm a nobody. I'm a kid growing up. And he's
Action also in depend to
so why would he pay attention? It's like guys that say they know me and I don't remember them because I'm in a different level. You're not going to remember these guys, but he was always a gentleman. And as time went on, yes, he said hello. But if you ask him specifically what we talk about, he won't know. Because to me it was a big deal, just like it was a big deal talking to Gotti Senior. But then you learn and you decipher, hey, is this guy a good leader? When you start watching people that are good leaders through history, whether it's in law enforcement, like we talk about Rudy Giuliani, right? Highly intelligent guy, good leader. Decimated the
70 دادمش 10 تا فرارش
I did an interview down in Albania.
اون قبلی هم نه اون قبلی مویم اسپیدش داره
Said that Gotti Senior had a gun on him, and I left. I says, you're wrong. And he says, well,
خیلی خوبه.
Rudy Giuliani. I says, all due respect to Rudy Giuliani, and I have a lot of respect for him, is he wasn't in the car, but Sammy Gravano was. And there was no gun in Gotti's hand or jacket. He had no intention of getting out of that car, no matter what. He was just going to send Sammy out. Sammy had the gun. So it depends on where this information's coming from. Phil Baroni, right, and I'm going to slide back for a second, was one of the guys who was an ex-detective that testified in Gotti's trials. And this is the reason maybe I had a problem with some of these juries. And he said he didn't know when we were going to kill Georgie Grasso. This is the detective that lived up the block from me. This is a detective that when I moved to Cherry Hill, New Jersey, 2 hours away, he moved next door to me. This is the detective that went to Mexico with me. He's my bookmaking partner with me. He's selling drugs with me. He's doing armed robberies with me. But he didn't know I was going to shoot this guy in the head. Who the fuck is going to believe that? Who's stupid enough to believe that? So if a jury thinks because he's saying he didn't know, and Peter Cetera, the other guy saying he met me in McDonald's somewhere, and I said, I don't even know where there's a McDonald's. We met in Burger King for a different occasion. Whatever stories these guys are telling, the only difference between my stories and them is mine's are truth, and I don't say I didn't kill these guys. I don't say I didn't shoot these guys. I don't say I was involved in baseball batting these guys. But when these guys want to insult somebody and say, you're only on vacation with me, Phil Baroni couldn't get further up my ass. You're a detective that ran around with that badge with me, and we did everything together for 20-something years. You were giving us information when Jeannie Gotti and Johnny Koenig had a problem. You giving information that John Gotti Sr. and Sammy were going to get pinched when they got pinched in 90. Where was that information coming from? Where did he get it from? These guys are talking about the driver, Jimmy. I'm in his house.
اون نمیارزه ولی VPN بخری کلا بینی دانجن دراب میشه
الان که دانجن نیستم که
خب به چی مور دانجن خود سازم هم برن فکر بشه دانجن
بیاری دراب میشه
او هم دانجن دیشبی من دیدم یه VPN خفن بود
I had tons of paperwork from Brazil extradition, and I was fighting my case. Marco, this guy, I sent him $750,000 stolen. A buddy of mine put all the documents with the money transfers to Brazil, and they showed he stole the money. Gotti was friends with him. Gotti had him do a video. But Gotti doesn't tell everybody this guy, when I was locked up, facing life in a death sentence, took all my paperwork and sent it back to the United States government to give me a life sentence on Gotti's behalf. So when I'm on the stand, they said they got all my papers. Did you say this? Yes. Is this part true? No. Is that part true? No. Is that part true? No, I'm lying. Because back then I wasn't cooperating. So I said, that's when I was a gangster. Look how I was going to beat my case. Yeah, I did order a murder from Brazil. Were you going to kill this guy from Brazil? It's all in the suite. What I'm trying to say, yeah, you could take that paperwork. Some of it's real, some of it's fake. I'm trying to save my life. Now I'm on the stand testifying against the guy who I called Mighty Bulger. Who gave me up. What did you think? Was I a fool? I was going to say I'm going to go to jail and do 10 life sentences for a guy that had my best friend from college, Timmy Donovan, testify against me because you said to. So he did, and he testified for you. When you have the Accardi brothers, the famous Trafficani family, John and Jason and the father testified against me because Gotti said they could. Or you have Robert Lamandola testify against me because Gotti said he could. Or Joe Kane give fake information, you understand, because he said so. Or Johnny, the car thief that I baseball back, Gotti said so. I could go through some more names that he told everybody to testify against me. They couldn't kill me, so this was the way they were going to kill me. He was rat on me. So when I came back, and I got all the paperwork, and I found out everybody's testifying against and giving me up. Then, yes, I did come in, and I never hid the fact. I'm not like everybody else. I said, they betrayed me. I didn't betray anybody. So when I came in, it was years after John was in. It was years after Mikey Scars was in. It was years in, Captain. It was years in if Fat Dom was giving people up. It was a made guy. These are all Gotti's guys. They're all talking. I'm not talking. I left my family. I left my money. I went penniless. I lived in Cuba. I lived in Colombia. I lived in Africa. Not to rat. So when these guys switching this, dates can't lie. Paperwork can't lie. The only difference is I've always been a man. I stand on my 2 feet. So when I came in, I come in and I don't hide the fact. You've betrayed me, I owe you nothing.
It's interesting listening to these stories. You know, for me, I've interviewed a few CIA agents. One of the one we interviewed, she was the chief disguise officer of the U.S. government. So she would disguise faces, and she went to Bush one time. She disguised the face Bush couldn't recognize, and she took the mask off, saying how great of a disguise this was. She married another CIA agent because they met each other in the business. I said, let me ask you a question. How do you believe each other? She says, it's a very good question. I said, because both of you are trained to lie for good reason, right? Because you lie to protect your country. So if you sit down with a Russian operative, you're not going to tell every story. You're going to lie as much as you can, right? So how does one, when sitting and you hear all these stories, somebody who's not in the world, you're just listening to the stories, you hear so many different sides and everybody sounds convincing.
Well, you have to take like I just said, you have to take
خیلی شلوغه اینجا که شما کوست بدنم مثلا همه جا خورده کم بود اصلا تانالیست یعنی پرنده بر نمیدن نسبت به اینجا سیرین گورج چیه؟ سیرین گورج بالای بدنش زیاد داده خوب داده ولی همه شلوغه
during these conversations. Why would I be in Gotti's wedding? Why am I on a list giving him 5,000 at the Helmsley Palace who was only a handful of gangsters?
همه چی مرده نگاه کن گله هر الان استره میاد لیرا رو همه رو برداشتن اصلا نیست یه جا پر گله الان یه جا پر گله هر کریب زنده نیست من اینوایت کن من لیرا خیلی تخم افتاده
the detective that claimed all this nonsense. So explain to me, $1 billion to 1, $5 billion to 1 that this detective selling drugs with me, robbing with me, bookmaking with me, moves next door to me in Cherry Hill. All the real estate in the world, you came to Cherry Hill to sit next to me. What are you doing at my house every day? How many pictures you want? Because after this week, I could give you pictures. What is Carmine, right? Never shot a gun in his life. 16-count indictment disappears and the courtroom closes. Do we have to be geniuses to understand what he did? So, I'm not asking anybody to believe what I'm saying. Just look at the facts. Why are these guys talking like this?
Same shit.
Are you easy to trust people today, or after a life like this? I mean, you're 57 years old. How do you trust anybody today? Do you see people and you say, I think you're 56 to be exact. 56. September 30th is your birthday.
Yes.
So who do you trust yourself today?
Listen,
you've lived in, like you said, treacherous life. So who do you trust?
Very simple. Guys like you, legitimate guys that have no agendas, that are respectful.
Purely agendas.
And friends like my friends, his friends of mine that I grew up since we were kids, that are attorneys, court stenographers, was 5 years older than my friend. My friend Michael Jacobs, I know him since he's 5 years old. These guys have no agendas but friendship. They're not weasels with money. They're not calling somebody trying to set me up from behind my back. They're not guys that are dying to make their name themselves off me. And you got guys that I'll call up, and I'll give you an example. A guy calls me out of nowhere, fake number, and he tells me he's part of a crew. Albanians. I don't talk against Albanians. I try not to kill Albanians or hurt Albanians in my life. And he claims he's involved in a crew of Albanians that went to jail. And he's had some choice words for me. So I told him, you know why? I says, I'm going to give you 15 seconds. This is what I'm going to do for you. I says, first, if you are who you are, I know you're a dog. I says, because while your friends are all in prison, what are you doing home? I said, second, if they had no evidence against you, when all your friends went to prison because they challenged the Gambino family, why didn't you go kill anybody for them? I said, so you're talking like a killer, but you're not a killer because you're not in jail with them. You didn't get revenge for them. And any of those guys on that case, as much as I don't want to disrespect them, they didn't kill anybody. So where do these guys get off talking or even questioning me or my life when they have no knowledge of it? So I have no business questioning your life or disrespecting you in any which way, unless I was involved with you, or unless I told you, I used the name earlier, Vito Guzzo, because like him or leave him, or like or disagree with his crew at times, and they try to kill me in the reports, all the guys that cooperated said, they try to kill me 10 times. So they have the right to talk about me because we were going back and forth, trying to kill each other, shoot each other, robbing each other. So they do have the right, even if I disagree. I personally give them the respect either way. If I like them or disagree, but I respect them. There's a difference, like in sports, like in anything. But when guys are talking out of school that don't even understand this life, and they get on a chat and they want to feel important with, especially when guys reach out to me and talk, they're only talking because this isn't 1985 or 86 or 87 or 90 or 95. We all know that.
Of course.
Okay. So the biggest mistake anybody ever made in life is when they challenge and threaten somebody, because that's usually when you're talking to a serious guy that you can have an issue. Now, with me, I don't take them serious because there's a lot of guys out there that don't but they're not on the internet talking. Those are the guys I got to worry about, not these idiots that are getting in touch with me trying to get attention.
Sure.
So you got a guy like Johnny Burke, I'm going to use him, he's got a life sentence. This is a guy that was around the Ruggiano family, was a drug addict, got baseball batted by Carmine and John Gotti Jr., did nothing about it. This is a guy that let his family sit in the street with no money, didn't buy him a house. I had to give him $60,000 to buy the house. This is a guy that left Citrus County Jail twice to go meet with the prosecutors. He didn't go to Disney World and try to make a deal. This is a guy whose mother threatened us in 2001 if we didn't give him money, he was gonna rat. This is a guy that got run over by Brendan Gebbett and did nothing about it. Sat in the hospital, they came running to me, can you help me? This is a guy that was with me on the robbery in Valley Stream when I robbed Jojo Carrazzo and Ronnie One-Arm's bookmaker that refused to come, he was scared. This is a guy whose brother married a police officer but calls everybody a rat. This is a guy who they did the whole house of an FBI agent for free. Him and his brother were meeting with him, but he calls everybody a rat. This is a guy who teaches his kids to talk just like him. And this is the problem why I keep doing these shows for kids. Because don't follow these guys. They're full of shit. They ain't about nothing. And this is a guy that Matty, I won't say his last name, shot him in the throat because he talked too much, Johnny Burke. And this is a guy in jail that was getting shaken down. And in Citrus County, when he came to the jail I was at, I got him in the Sally Port, and I told him, I know you're rat, and he cried. This is the same guy that's talking on internets, and because they can Google, they can use the internet now from prison. This is a guy that if I told him to do anything I wanted, he would have did it and said, please, can I do it again? So when they're able to talk on internets and computers, because it's a different world, but no one's talking about this, and his family doesn't know all this stuff, but his mother knows that's you. And I made guys that are cooperating, Patsy Adriano, Dave Darpino, Peter Sicaro, I made every one of them before all these cases come, go pay his mother before he snitches and he rats on us. And there's a guy in 1994 got out of trouble for a state case and got out of jail that we were questioning how he got out. And I can go on, you know, with more stories about it. So when these guys talk, the problem is their mouths not, you know, they're not sewed shut. You can't stop them from talking. So they want to change the storyline, what happened. This is the first guy that rolled out all these guys. So somebody's talking, I don't even blame them because they're hearing it from him. And when Gotti's kids are talking, because I tell my kids, shut your mouth and mind your business about my life. These are regular kids. If any gangster wants to be a gangster still with me, I'm very accessible. I don't leave New York. So if you still think you're that killer, then you're allowed to take a shot, jump. Like we used to stay in the street, right? You're froggy, take a jump, leap. So what are you talking about kids for? I don't want to talk about anybody's kids. So, you know, I make this very easy for anybody that still says they're gangsters. Just what you said, it's over. But if they want to be a gangster, go ahead. You know where you're going to end up. You're going to live your own life. If that's you're trying to get a name off yourself for talking
that's
about
what I'm saying.
me or
it's a
somebody
different
else.
life today. Like you said, fear and structure was the key. And those two things, when you lose those two things, it's tough to control. So, you know the whole part, you said something, you said, I'm trying to change my life, but you also don't believe certain things change about a person, right? Like you comment something about change. You've lived this life for a while. How do you, I know you said something, you had a hard time going to sleep at night, you're still having to therapy sometimes, talking to some people, you know, kind of being able to flush it out. It's not like you only did it for a year, 2 years, 3 years. You lived this life for some time. How are you keeping up to stay changed?
Because I was diagnosed with PTSD. I don't hide that fact because I try to help soldiers and other people that are diagnosed with it. I don't hide the fact that I see a therapist. I don't hide the fact. I'm like an alcoholic. I said it over and over again. It's easy for me to hurt somebody or kill somebody. That's the easy part. For me, it's easy. I don't say anything different. The hard part is not doing it when they talk crazy and talk stupid and this. So you have to work at things, right? So I get through it each day. So today I got through today, I worry about tomorrow. But I'm not going to change who I am. So who I am is this. I don't need to call 10 guys. And the reason why I said when I baseball batted this guy, and I say who's there, I'm by myself. When I shot these guys, I'm by myself. Because I want people to understand. I don't need 20 guys to feel strong. And I didn't need 100 guys to say I'm cooperating now. Because they betrayed me. I just ran through this. The mob betrayed me, I didn't betray them. So they're not going to switch that on me. I'm not one of these dumb guys. I was educated, college educated, street educated.
College educated?
Yeah, I went to college also. So I didn't graduate the 4 years, but I went to college 3 years. So I'm educated and I understand life, right? And I understand if John Gotti Jr. ever turned around and learned to be a gentleman, shook my hand and said, let's forget about the past, because there's a ton of guys out there that tried to kill me that I'm friends with now. The guy Stevie Newell, that he planned on killing me and I shot him, we're friends. because there's a level of respect. Again, I'm going to go back to level of respect. But when you want to bullshit the public and yourself and throw your garbage on me, and you're not man enough to say, this is what I did, I'll never be your friend. I'll never respect you. So when you turn around and you be a gentleman and say, okay, this is what happened, I couldn't take the life anymore. Yeah, I did cooperate. I'm good with it. I don't care. I'm not going to hold nothing against you because I moved on. There's guys that robbed my money, big money, like that kid in Marco, $750,000. I don't go looking to kill him. He's
you
not
still miss the
life? Anybody that says they don't miss the life, my opinion, it's been in the life. I think we all miss the life. But the only difference is we get older, we get smarter, we understand there is no loyalty. And I think we miss, like we all say, camaraderie and all that. And I joke about it. I said, well, join
نه خلوت‌تر شد باز هیچ کلیپی زنده نیست اون موقع چه جهنمی
This life of what I thought it was as a young man, as a kid, does not exist. So, you know, my friends that when I am together with my friends, the guys I grew up with, we go to the beach or we go as families, I don't miss the mob when I'm with them because, again, I don't got to look over your shoulder, and I don't got to worry about getting in a car, and I don't got to worry about anything with them. And that, you know, there's no treachery. There's only true friendship and love for each other. And this is the part that kids really got to understand because I know I was there. I know that it's enticing. All this is enticing. But just what you said, I'll be a liar to tell you, you know, Ralph Natale from Philly said I sleep like a baby. And do I like Ralph? He's an all right guy. But I said he's full of shit. Because I think if you talk to anybody who's been in the armed forces, seen action, or anybody from the streets, or a police officer that did shootings, you're not sleeping. You're a liar. It's just not possible. You just, you know, because subconsciously there's guilt. I don't care earlier. I do care. That's why I go to therapy all the time. I did get in touch with, so you just
تراب نمیشه کوسایتش موباشم کمه بعد فاصله دور از من هر جا ماکسیموم 3 تا وایستاده تا الان فکر کنم یه 30 تایی کشتم نداده کوسایتم شلوغ هم میچرخن میزنن
and I'll be a liar if I say anything different. I'm still the same guy. So that means if somebody busted in his room right now and tried to hurt us, I'll be a liar if I say I wasn't.
What's the story that GQ did on you? GQ magazine did a story on you. What was it about?
GQ talked to me about, I did a Netflix series.
And this was just a month ago?
This is a month ago. I did a Netflix thing that's coming out, and they spoke to me about that. It's about 5 families. And this is also about...
Is 5 Families with the author, the same guy that wrote the book 5 Families?
No. And it's just the history of them. Yeah. I mean, there's a new book out now, actually, Gotti's Boys with Tony DiStefano. Actually, you know, I talked to him and I was skimming through the book. I haven't read it all, and it's a pretty good book. So, you know, it's a different perspective. He speaks about me in some of the book.
Pretty accurate? Is there some accurate story?
Yeah, what I read is some of it's accurate, some of it's not. You know, I called him on one of them, and it's, you know, he was talking about Mark Ryder, and I was, you know, somebody said because of my age, you know, he doesn't believe I was with him during, and I says to him, you know what's funny? I says, listen, you're never going to get a book completely factual. I says, Mark Ryder, I took him on a run when he went to Disney World. I took him. When he went to California, I took him with a woman, Rosemary Finelli, and we helped him get apartments, and he went other places. So when they talk, they don't really have the facts, and you know, I love that family, and I feel terrible for whatever happened to his life, and he lost his son, and his son was a great friend of mine, and you know, they never found the body. And you get guys like my other friend, and this is the treachery of life, Keith Pellegrino. Since he's a kid, he was one of my drug partners. I know him, I got him, guys wanted to hurt him, I saved him. The same guy that stayed with us knew about Greg's murder and never told us and hid it from us and was involved with one of the guys that was involved in his murder. That's the treachery of the life. And he's not a tough guy, Keith. Actually, he was a punk. You know, so if it wasn't for me protecting him, he would end up dead. So how do you do that to one of our friends, right? So this is why I'm saying to kids, go play baseball, go to school, go become a lawyer, go become a truck driver, do something legitimately, do what you're doing. But don't end up on the street because there is no true friendships there.
And I would say, you know, a lot of times people ask me, they say, why do you interview people in this world? And I said, you know, first of all, the of you community, the mafia community, came curiosity. Obviously, I grew up with a lot of the history of the community, the Godfathers. You know, it's very, if you ask any CEO entrepreneur, a lot of people will say one of the most powerful movies you can watch to learn about business, The Godfather, 1 and 2. Maybe not 3, but you can learn a lot about business. And it gives different perspectives on what you can do with business. But if there's one thing about it is hearing all these different stories and knowing there's always a power play to be done. And if you are too naive, like you said earlier, and you're not anticipating next week and making notes of certain people's behavior in some strange moments, it could catch up to you. That could happen in business, just like it is in your world. The difference is in your world, you could get killed. In the business world, you're put out of business.
Well, you know, I talked earlier about this kid Frankie, a big guy I hurt, right? We'll use him as an example. I like the guy. It was nothing personal. Johnny Cornelia and Jeannie at the time asked me to hurt him over the drug business. But the thing is, I liked him, I respect him, and he was legitimately a tough kid, a big kid, 6'5", whatever. His friends, tough guys, left him. And they didn't retaliate with him afterwards. And they didn't try that. Now they're talking. These same guys had the opportunity, and this is why I'm talking not even just one end, the other end. The guys I even hurt, or guys, you know, I respect. I'm trying to say, even the guys like that, look what's going on to them. Where's their friends when they needed them? There was a made guy at the time, Jerry Asara was with him, standing with him, and I told him, get lost, or I'll hurt you too. And he walked. His father just got basically a life sentence. And he said they couldn't be involved with the Ladanza stuff. And so, but his son, and his other friend, Frankie, now is in the neighborhood with a big mouth. Where were you when he needed you? Where were you coming out 30 years later when we were all retired? Where were you when we were all loading guns? And I say that, forget about shooting a gun. These guys never loaded a gun unless it was a water pistol. So I'm trying to say the same thing over and over and over again, as much as I can. These kids need to understand, stay away from this life, because they think that just like I did as a kid, and it's very hard for them to make them understand.
Prestige, you know, the whole nine, you know, the movie Goodfellas, and you go out and the ladies and, you know, the cars and all that stuff, which part of it is true. I mean, when I talk to a lot of these guys, listen, you guys have partied hard, you guys have had a lot of fun.
I own the hottest nightclubs around, I had everything, but I'm gonna tell you, when I sat in that cell alone and it was all over, every one of my friends in that life started ratting on me, all of them. 50 guys, 50-something actually. They all went to the grand jury. You can check with the Florida prosecutor and ask them. Because when these conversations started, I think it was 54 was the number actually that ratted on me. All these mob-made guys ratting on me. When all the money was gone, so was all the women.
Sure.
So was everybody else, and so was even my other friends that were from the street that weren't killers, but they were, you know, playing around on the street with drugs, and there was nobody near me. I was in this cell, and I'm gonna tell you, like I tell everybody, because if you're gonna be fake, you can't talk to kids. And you're sitting in that cell and you're crying. And I like when somebody said, "Did you cry?" Yeah, I'm a man. I'm not a robot. Of course I cried. And they said, "Well, you did this, you did that." I'm not asking anybody to feel bad for me. I says, that's not why I'm saying it. I'm saying it to kids so they understand that this ain't all about that. And when your kids aren't seeing you, and I didn't see some of I have 4 kids. I didn't see 2 of them for 10 years. You know, so I had disagreements with the mom, and I'm friends with her now with a reconciliation. She's remarried. But this is the reality of the life that the kids got to understand. And when my uncle died, he was like my father. I lived with him in California. I didn't see him. I never get to say goodbye to him. And there's times when you're crying. So no one is saying to me, well, poor you, or fuck you, you know, because I know people out there.
Sure.
And I'm not asking anybody to say, fuck, poor me. I'm not asking anybody. This is my life. I stood on my 2 feet and I accepted everything. But the reality of a kid that you're going to cry. And if you say you're not, I mean, tough guys, killers. I mean, killers that ain't never getting out of jail. And I got a ton of friends that are in the street, still in jail and off the street. So people will say, well, I seen him with this guy. I don't lie and say I don't know him anymore. A lot of them are my friends still. I just ain't involved with them anymore. I'll have lunch with them. Around the world, I'm talking about gangsters in and out of jails. I got a ton of friends in jails. I got fan guys that write me on a constant basis. I said, I shouldn't use the word fan. I said, because I respect them for writing me from jail, and they tell me we wish we could be man enough or do what you're doing. And I said, it took me a long time to be a man like this. It's easy doing the other stuff. I'll say it over again. Easy to shoot and kill. This is the hard part. to admit all this stuff and try to convince some kids if you could save one or two.
This is a terrible time to want to live that life because you got 300 million cameras everywhere. You got 300 million cameras. Everybody's doing live. Everything is recorded. Everybody's walking over to record. It's a terrible time to do it.
But watch the news, right? And I'm not even talking about gangsters, just criminals doing dumb shit, and they know there's a camera there, and they still do it. And they're almost saying cheese on the camera, and they're walking down the block.
True.
یه جعبه توش مثل الماس مثلا میمونه. یه لیوانه. بیسی زده.
اسم کوسه چیه؟ اونی که تو بیس ترولاست؟
مثل بیس ترولاست داره. یه
چیزه یه چی میگن؟ باکت فلزی.
White branch hooligans.
یه سطل فلزیه توش ابزاره. تو اون همه کمپا شانس داره ریسپان شدی یاد بری کمپا رو دونه ببین. جیب باگ پت دیگه گیر آوردم.
بله.
That spell isn't ready yet. party isn't ready yet. I can't cast that yet. Inventory is full. That's still recharging. That spell isn't ready yet.
A lot of fools, but one of the great equalizers, I believe, of getting people to not want to go in that direction of a life is social media. I think that's done. The social media and smartphones have changed the game. John, what book are you currently working on that we can share with our audience? If there was one book we could share, which one would it be?
Well, this is Susan Pike with me. It's called Darkest Hour. There's going to be a series, Darkest Hour 2 and 3.
Okay.
This was a setup book after Gotti's Rules, because I did Gotti's Rules with George Anastasia. And the setup book, we don't really talk about my childhood. This is a setup book for 2 and 3. And 2 and 3, I'm going to really get into all these things I'm talking about, shootings. I'm going to get into more. This book, different than the first Gotti's Rules, is I'm going to list, just like I did names, like I just did now. And I'm going to make sure that there's going to be people that were there, witnesses. So if somebody wants to contact and see the truthfulness, I guess they can contact them. And then I'm going to do a scorecard of every gangster I mentioned in that book. How many armed robberies they did, how many actual shootings they did themselves.
That should be
what
interesting. You're going to piss off a lot of people if they're alive. You're going to piss off a lot of those Well, it's going to be interesting for them to come back and say that's not true. I did this many, I had this many numbers.
Who's going to say? If I say Carmine Agnello, I'm going to use him because he had a big mouth over the years, right? The brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And he ran to Cleveland, and his courtroom got shut down, and a 16-count indictment that does not go away. And I guess somebody could talk to Giuliani.
He's the one that was married to the sister.
Yeah. Never yet used a gun in his life. So was he going to all of a sudden get balls up and get a gun and come looking for me? So, you know, to me, I just can't do that and let the guns. And if you want to do the right thing, maybe you should talk to your kids and tell them the same thing and other kids. Let's not follow this life, because I got nothing against any of their kids. I hope their kids don't ever follow us, and I hope my kids do the same. And I've had problems with one of my sons. So, you know, the reality is, break the cycle, right?
This is a terrible time to want to go that route. Terrible time to want to go that route. John, again, thank you for flying out to Dallas to do this sit-down. We're going to put the links to both of the books as well as the GQ article. And if you want to find out more about his books or the article, go to the link below. We're going to put every single one of the links on how to find out more about John A. Light's book. Both the Gotti rules as well as the darkest hour. Once again, thanks for coming out.
Thank you too, Pat.
Yeah, appreciate you.
They said you are the highest moneymaker mafia boss outside of Al Capone. You were making 6 to 8 mil a week.
I never aspired to be a made man. I was 17 years old when my dad drew a 50-year prison sentence. My best friend was walking in for a moment, but the setup was bad. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I might have gotten killed that night.
So there's a lot of people I sit down with and I meet, but Michael, I have to tell you, you're one of the most fascinating people that I've been looking forward to sitting down with.
And you had Nicky Eyes.
What's up, guy?
And Mikey Francesi.
When you hear about the modern day, not even a modern day, you know the movie Godfather, everybody has the poster, and you watch the movie and you hear about Michael Corleone and you think, is there really a character like that? You pretty much are the real life.
that. Talk to me. Off with you. Here there. Be good. You got my attention. How are you? Watch your back. What's on your mind? Be good. Interest you on a pint? Watch your back. Here there. Off with you. Talk to me. Be good. What's on your mind? Off with you.
چقدر مونده دلاب چرا؟ چند بار گرفتیم؟
That's still recharging. I can't stand yet.